Hello, my friends. This is Soilman Teddy Zuckerman. I came from the soil, I'm going to the soil, and I'm cultivating green plants in soil along the way. Like everyone else. Okay, enough of my smiling face. Let's take a look at what I'm making today in the kitchen. So today we are going to make rice, plain ordinary rice. And what I've got is this jasmine rice that has been imported from Thailand. Oh, let me show you the most important thing in my kitchen. Okay, that's the most important thing in my kitchen. And, oh, you should take a look at my cutting board also. I have a whole table instead of just a cutting board that I move on the counter. This gives me a little more counter space too. I have a table, cutting table, and this is used only for vegetable matter. No dairy, no animal flesh. And I've got some knives there. And I got a nice big chef's knife. It's not really that big, it's only like 8 inches. And you can see this is a whole table. Okay? Okay, let's get back to the view of the kitchen here. I have got out some of the tools I'm going to need. So let me close this drawer, this thing over there. Okay. We're going to need a pot. This is an old stainless steel pot. It's got an aluminum clad bottom, which is not so great because the cladding leaves aluminum behind on any surface that you put it on. Newer pots are double or triple clad, triple layered. They have a layer of stainless, a layer of aluminum or copper, and then on top of that another layer of stainless. So you can put it down on the counter without staining your counter. Or you can put it down on a dish without staining your dish. Okay, and it has a nice cover. Well, a well-fitting cover. Okay. And I've already measured the rice, and it's here somewhere. There we go. I've already measured the rice. This is rice imported from Thailand. I'm in the United States now. Asheville, North Carolina. This is fairly easily available here. It's in the ordinary supermarkets. I don't have to go to any specialty stores. It is a jasmine rice, which means once you cook it, it's very soft, and it is not too sticky, but it is soft, and it seems to absorb flavors from whatever liquids you put it in or put on it. Okay, so in my bag, see how much I had, a bag of rice, see how much I had left, and what I had left was 1 3/4 cups of rice. So here we go. We're starting with 1 3/4 cups of rice. And the first thing we're going to do is wash it. This particular brand doesn't say whether it's washed or not, so I'm going to assume it's not and wash it. Okay, in order to wash it, first I just put it in the same pot. I don't have to make a lot of dishes. I put it in the same pot that I am going to cook it in. And I'm going to add cold water to it, or just slightly heated water, so I don't freeze my hands off when I wash it. All right, let's get this sponge. Okay, my hands have already been washed. I washed them in the bathroom with hand soap, which is a little bit gentler, I think, than the dishwashing liquid I have here, which you could wash your hands with, but I prefer to use the hand soap, which is actually soap, by the way. Dr. Bronner's brand soap is in my bathroom. Okay. In goes the water, and I'm going to grab a colander, bowl, and the colander. Pot is filled with rice. I can't really show it to you because the water will come out onto the floor if I try and show you the rice, but take my word for it, there's rice and water in here. I'm going to stir it up a little bit, let it sit for just about 1 minute to get anything that's stuck to the rice to unstick itself. Okay. Now I'm just going to pour out the water. Most of the rice went into the colander. There's still a little bit left in the pot, but there's not much water left in the pot. So what I'm going to do is simply put the rice back into the pot. And I'm going to have to switch hands to do that. I'm doing this a little bit unusually in order to play to the camera. Play to the camera. Okay, rice back in. We're going to rinse it again. Food that isn't like really dirty like this, filled with obvious dirt, I will wash it maybe 3 times. Just rinse it with plain water 3 times. Second rinse, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to sit in the water because anything that's stuck to the rice has already been loosened. Now, any material that's in the colander, I'm running the water through the colander in the opposite direction. Move the colander this way to get anything that was in the colander to go back out. Okay. Okay, put the pot down. Just move over here. Okay, dump the rice back in the pot for the 3rd time. And while I'm doing that, I am going to put the burner on the stove. And trick, which I do not like at all, but that's what I have in my apartment, and that's what I'm going to use today. Third rinse, drain the 3rd time, and this 3rd time I'm just going to let the rice sit a minute to completely drain out. It's going to sit in the bowl. And if you remember, I had 1 3/4 cups of rice. So I am taking my clean measuring cup and I'm going to measure 1 3/4 cups of water times 2. So, now first of all, if you can see what I'm doing, I'm going to pour this down the side a bit to get any rice that's on the side of the pot to go into the bottom. Okay, that's 1 cup. 1 3/4 times 2. Here's how we do that. 1 times 2 is 2. 3/4 times 2 is 1 1/2. 2 plus 1 1/2 is 3 1/2. All right? So that was 1. 2. 3. And a half. Okay. Got the pot on burner. With the rice and the water in it. I've reserved a half a cup of water, and you will see why in a little while. Okay, one trick. If your rice is very foamy, and rice is very foamy, I take a tiny drop of vegetable oil. If I had an eyedropper handy, I would just fill the eyedropper up and drop 1 or 2 drops out of the eyedropper. Since I don't have an eyedropper, I'm just very gently pouring vegetable oil. This happens to be you can see there's practically nothing there. It happens to be I forgot the name of the kind of oil. Here we go. Into the pot with the rice. That'll help reduce foaming, but it's an insignificant amount of oil. You won't taste it. You won't. It'll just help keep the foaming down a bit. You see that? Canola oil. 1 drop. All right. Give the rice a stir. Put my spoon down on the plate. Put the canola oil away. Let the rice heat up. Put the cover on it. Since this is an electric stove, what is going to happen is, let me get a chair. All right, what is going to happen is the water is going to start to boil, and if you don't turn the heat down, it's going to boil over. So as soon as it starts to boil vigorously, and that helps mix the rice, you give it 1 or 2 final stirs, and after that you do not want to stir it at all, not at all after it's come to a boil, only up until the time it's come to a boil. Okay, now since I can't turn it down, it's not boiling yet. Since I can't turn it down rapidly the way I could with gas heat, what I'm going to do is not only turn it down, but add some of that cold water that I've reserved. And that, I've estimated how much I will need to, so that when I add it, it will bring the rice down to a bare simmer. That is how you want the rice to be. You don't want it boiling. You don't want it so you don't see any water movement at all. You just want the smallest simmer that you can. That is, for all practical purposes, the same the rice, for all practical purposes, the rice and the water will be at the same temperature as they would be if the water was boiling vigorously. And I will explain the physics of that at some other time. I'm getting my little timer ready, and I'm going to set it to 20 minutes. Okay. Now it's not counting down yet. As soon as the rice starts simmering, I will press the button to make it count down. And there we go. We're getting a fairly vigorous boil in here. And I'm going to stir it one more time to make sure there's no lumps. Wait for the boil to return. Add the rest of the water. I think I reserved a little bit too much water. So what I'm going to do is just the right amount of water. I'm turning it down to, on this stove it's 2.5. To heat it up, I had it at the highest, and now it's at 2.5, and it's just barely simmering. I'm going to get the camera over it so you can see how barely it is. I don't know if you can see it simmering at all, but it is definitely simmering. And I don't want to hold the camera too close to it because I don't want the camera to cook. All right, so I'm going to cover it and press the countdown button. It is counting down. Nope, it's not. There we go. Now it's counting down. Let's put the timer there. In 20 minutes, we will have fully cooked rice. I'm just going to take a look at it. Yep, it's still simmering. Okay. And while that rice is cooking, I will finish washing the dishes that are sitting in my sink. See you in a little while. Different kinds of rice require different amounts of cooking time. Let's adjust this camera a little bit. This jasmine rice that I'm cooking now requires, the package says 18 to 20 minutes. I just do it for 20 minutes. I like it nice and soft. Let me show you what it looks like after cooking for only 8 minutes. All right. There's no harm to taking the cover off for a few seconds now and then. This is not a pressure cooker. It is an ordinary steam cooking pot. If I were cooking at rapid speed, if I were steaming something at a high temperature where the water at the bottom was boiling vigorously, in order to create a lot of steam and steamed vegetables on top, you would see the cover going like this. Every time the steam pressure reaches a certain point, it gets enough to lift the cover off. The cover lifts, the steam goes out, and the cover falls back down. By the way, this has the same fragrance, or a very similar fragrance. Jasmine rice has a very similar fragrance to basmati rice. However, it is softer. This is not whole grain rice I'm using, but I have also seen jasmine rice in whole grain or unpolished form. This is polished rice. Of course, the polished rice seems to absorb liquids and flavors better, and it cooks in half the time. So that's the story. Alrighty, there is only 1 minute left. If this were a gas stove, I could probably just turn off the flame and let the pot sit there to cool off for about 5 minutes. But since this is electric, turning off the electricity to the quote-unquote burner will not immediately turn off the heat. It'll only lose heat very slowly, and the rice will continue to cook. Not good, messes with your timing. So what I'm going to do in another 20 seconds is simply find a cool burner and move the pot from the hot burner to the cool burner, and at the same time I'm going to turn off the burner that I've been using to cook the rice. There's my timer saying beep, beep, beep. I am going to shut off the beep. No more beep. And I'm going to move the rice. That's it. Next thing is to eat it, and I'll show you how that's done too. Alrighty, my rice has been cooling for about 15 minutes now, I think. Sitting on a colander, on a, what's that kind of colander called? A silicone, not a colander, trivet, a silicone trivet on top of a quilted pot holder, just to make sure that plastic laminate here on my countertop does not get too hot. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you this, but here's the deal. I'm going to plate the rice. I don't bother fluffing the rice, but when I take the rice out of the pot, I don't like scoop the top off. I go down like this and get everything at all the levels. I don't know if you saw that, but that's what I do. Just ravenously hungry. It's not really a good idea to eat plain rice, but I'm going to do that. I'm going to eat basically just rice now with a few little flavorings. Oh my God, that is so delicious. Yeah, normally I don't measure this stuff with measuring tools, but today, for educational purposes, I'm going to use measuring tools of a sort. Not really measuring tools, but tools to give you an idea. Make it easier for you to see just about how much stuff I'm using. First thing, sesame oil. This is not toasted sesame oil. This is unrefined, expeller pressed sesame oil. I've seen a couple of brands. Product of Mexico or USA, packaged in the USA. This stuff is besides being delicious, I forgot what I was going to say. Here we go. This amount of rice, I'm going to take about a half a tablespoon, maybe. Yeah, about a half a tablespoon. This is not really a tablespoon that I'm using to measure the oil. Slightly less than a tablespoon. And I'm going to add that half a tablespoon to the rice. I'm also going to add just a teensy smidge of garlic powder. This is not garlic salt, it's garlic powder. The only ingredient is garlic. I found a brand that doesn't even have any stuff in it added to it to make it pour easier. Plain garlic powder, just a tweensy little bit in my hand here, maybe a quarter of a teaspoon. Less, that was too much. And since I know most of them use some Tabasco sauce or similar stuff. Ingredients: peppers, vinegar, salt, that's it. Peppers, vinegar, salt. Normally I don't use vinegar, but I'm going to use so little of this that the amount of vinegar is going to be insignificant. Now you could use Tabasco sauce instead, Tabasco brand hot pepper sauce. It is about 4 times as strong as this stuff, so you would use even less than you saw me use. And you would get even less vinegar. You know, even less than an eyedropper, 1 drop out of an eyedropper. It needs a little salt. Not a lot. And the pièce de résistance, however you pronounce that, I'm not sure. A little bit of sesame, tahini. Just a tiny bit does wonders. You don't gotta glop on sesame tahini. It works very well as, I don't know what you call it, but you can call it a condiment or a flavoring. I don't know. But it works wonders with all kinds of grains. Rice, corn. Let me taste this. Oh my God. It is so delicious. You could eat it with a fork or with chopsticks. I'm just going to eat it with a spoon. Hold on a second, I'm going to get something for you. Come on, adjust the light. There you go. There we go. All right, later I'm going to make a whole bunch of different vegetables to add to the rice. But right now, I'm just going to take a little red pepper. And I can't hold the camera and chop it at the same time. But you get the idea. Did not cook the red pepper. That is raw red pepper. I washed it, cut it in about 4 pieces, and I stuck it in a little plastic container. It'll last a good few days that way. Oh, this is so delicious. Oh my God, this is so delicious. Now, I wanted to tell you something else about rice. Once you've got your rice cooked like this, what you can do is eat the whole gigantic pot of rice right away, or you can freeze some for later. Rice freezes very well. Rice that you take out of the freezer and thaw or thaw in the microwave. To my mind, it's indistinguishable from freshly made rice. So I'm just going to pack that rice into some containers, leave a little air on top for expansion as the moisture in the rice expands as it freezes. And when I want rice a few days, weeks, months from now, I will just put it in a microwave safe container with a microwave safe cover with holes on the cover, holes in the cover to let the steam out, and microwave it for 1, 2, 3 minutes, depends how big the portion is. When you take it out of the microwave, it's steaming hot, just like freshly made rice. It tastes just like freshly made rice. I know some people don't have time to cook. They go to the natural food store and they buy rice that is labeled for sale as microwavable frozen rice. So I forget exactly what the label is, but basically it's just rice that's been cooked the ordinary way. I just cooked it, and then they put it in the container and they freeze it. They might put it in one of those special microwave containers that you can cook right in the container. That makes it even a little easier. That's an expensive way to have rice, though.